So, just at the end here, I'd like to ask you a short question about the Icesave-deal, because that has been the huge issue. You know, this large European countries are now demanding that the Icelandic people pay the money that these what they call the finance Vikings have thrown away. Yeah, and there was a popular vote that said no to the agreement, but that was an old version of the agreement, and now they're basically working on a new one. But what is the status, and what do you think will happen here?
Well, I think the vote itself, it was a very effective vote. It was a very effective no to how the authorities were conducting the case. The Alþingi had been split, and there was actually a majority against it, and but the majority sort of said, okay, we will agree to this deal almost if we have a national vote. So they had a national vote, and yes, so we have this was noticed all over the world actually, the no, as a first possible sign of how to reject the big loads of debts that the banks actually lost and are being put on the shoulders of people, common people. But I don't know how that will work out. It seems that the IMF and the EU is very effective, for example, Greece, in getting through some policies that will put this burden up on the shoulders of common people. But the situation in the Icesave matter, I don't know what to say. I think actually, my opinion is that the vote effectively put the question out of the debate, so that it will be politically impossible for anyone to get it through on bad terms for Iceland. That is my opinion.
And then, yes, now we can only hope that the negotiation will be fair, and that preferably like a third party, will comment, and this will be solved in a fair and balanced manner.
Yeah. We have had some developments. We now know what happened to the money from the Icesave accounts, so we can point to what happened to this money, and so we have had some progress in the research of the case.
What did happen to them?
There was the money. I think it went into some accounts offshore on tax
havens.
Tax havens.
Yeah.
And it stays there. I don't know the story exactly, but it's all in the big 2,500 report. 2,500 pages of research into what happened in that house.
And I think part of the outrage, within the Icelandic population, the Icesave outrage was that this was being negotiated, and this was the government was apparently willing to take this burden and put it onto the shoulders of the people, but none of the bankers had been, had been made to face justice in any way. So I think people were also so shocked at how badly everything was being handled. So this was being negotiated, and they were going to take care of this, but the people who had, bankrupted basically the country, they were still, out and about and, operating, freely. Yeah. So I think if that issue had been taken care of before, then the probability of a yes vote, let's pay, would have been higher. Mm-hmm. But people were so, I think, insulted. Yeah. This was felt in a very sort of a moral, this is so wrong that we cannot, say yes to it.
It really sounds like sort of the same debate that is happening in a lot of the countries where the government now bailed out a lot of banks
Yes.
that were about to go bankrupt.
Yes.
You have private corporations that go down, and then the public goes in to save them. But now, of course, this is a private bank that went bankrupt, and now you have other governments demanding that the state of Iceland and the Icelandic people actually pay the money they owe.
And they expect this to be done without any sort of democratic input from the people. So, I mean, if you think about it that way, then the whole vote was very, interesting, just politically, that there was this opportunity for the people to have a democratic say about something that's traditionally just is being handled by governments and the big sort of the big institutions.
I think this goes to show that the basic financial institutions are very undemocratic, and this is, of course, the thing that Attac is founded to fight against. It is founded to re-democratize societies that have been de-democratized.
And this was most, like I was saying before, one of the most basic demands and one of the most important promises made by this left-wing government was to increase transparency, that we would be actively informed. And of course, especially with the whole Icesave fiasco, they did no such thing. They were totally undemocratic, and we had no idea. They did not show any interest in providing us with any information.
This has been very clear.
Yeah,
There was
and I think people were very shocked how blatantly untransparent they were.